Rick Robinson here. Once again, we are at Zoom into Books, the premier author website where you can come and listen to interviews with some of your favorite independent authors. Today is kind of special because we are in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at the American Library Association, and I got this great new guy here who has just written a couple of children's books, got another one out of the way. Stephen Joseph, welcome to Zoom into Books.
Well, thank you for having me, Rick. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hey, first thing that grabbed me, Kathy told me when we were setting this up, she said, you're going to have another lawyer in the interviews today. I'm a lawyer, you're a lawyer. I'm a lawyer that started writing political thrillers. You're a lawyer that started writing to children. Now, maybe it's because in your section, your clients were all infantile, but how did you go from doing litigation review into children's books, children's literature?
It started. Well, I had. My first book was The Last Surviving Dinosaur, the CrankaTsuris, Tsuris being a Yiddish word for problems, and then actually...
I love that title.
And then I started a blog on crankiness, and I have a Grownup guide for Effective Crankiness, and then Cranky Superpowers. Those are my adult books. And being a lawyer who manages lawyers, you find there's a lot of makes you very cranky. And I always say law school, the first year of law school, that you learn how to get on people's nerves. The second year of law school, you learn how to rub people the wrong way. And the third year of law school, you learn how to get underneath people's skin. And we could do all three things at the same time, you're a lawyer. So I deal with that all the time, and it gets me kind of cranky. And so I try to be effectively cranky, and that leads to stories about cranky. Snoodles' book, people were driving in Krautmobiles and they ended up smelling like sauerkraut, ran out of sauerkraut, and people got cranky.
You could never have too much sauerkraut.
Well, all day long, you go into your office, everybody smells like sauerkraut. It's like not good. So it got replaced by the Snoodle. Herbie Snoodleman invented the Snoodle, runs on Noodles. You go to the Ramen-Oleum, fill up your Snoodle with noodles, and off you go. And
sounds like you've written the whole kit and caboodle.
Yes.
Do we have to have all of the rhymes? We can get them all out now if we want to.
It's amazing how. So it keeps going, and then it keeps growing and growing, and it's a big universe. And I have an amazing illustrator who keeps going. We keep doing more, and I think that's it. And then something happens, and then there's another story.
You know, it's interesting. You talk about being in law school and the things you learn. Scott Turow, the great political thriller writer, started out. His first book was called 1L, which was about being in law school. I think he went to Harvard, either Harvard or Yale, and it has become the gift that I give to every student who finds their way going into that. But it's funny because from the irritation standpoint, apparently it irritated quite a bit the professors that were in his class, that were teaching his class. One of whom, to this day, uses one of his books as one of the questions on an exam. You know, did Mr. Turow libel me? You know. So at least you didn't get out of the. So help me here as we get into the Snoodle series. What the heck is a Snoodle?
A Snoodle, like I said.
Snoodle, not Snoodle.
Snoodle. It was invented by Herbie Snoodleman. It runs on noodles. So, like again, you go to the Ramen-Oleum. You know, it used to be gas stations. Nowadays, it's Ramen-Oleums. You fill up your Snoodle with noodles, and off you go. It powers your automobile, which is a Snoodle.
So the Snoodle is a form of transportation.
That's right. Yes.
And he needs my noodle to get my Snoodle. All right. So the Snoodle then goes into space. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, Herbie, Sauer Krugelman who had invented the Krautmobile becomes a hero again because he invents the prickly peppered purple propulsion powered pickle. And if you put a prickly peppered purple propulsion powered pickle in a Snoodle, it goes like 10 times faster than the speed of light. It's amazing.
I paused to ask how is this different than other children's books, and first I'm starting to catch on.
Well,
we first off have everything that rhymes with Snoodle, Noodle, Poodle, everything else. But how is this different? What are kids getting out of this book?
Well, every book there is a Snoodle. I mean, not Snoodle. There's a new Poodle. In every book, there's a museum. After they invent a museum. So, like in the first Snoodle book, Herbie Snoodleman has the Kidoodle Noodle Art Museum. In Snoodles in Space, the prickly peppered purple propulsion powered Museum of Space Exploration. In this book, you have Frimpy Fruddle and Wimpy Whiny Woodle. They have the Swoodle Woodle Aquadoodle Marine Aquarium. Yeah, and then there's new Poodles all the time. And it's also about redemption. So, like in these books, people make mistakes, but then they become like heroes, which is fun.
I love the illustrations in this book. Tell me about the illustrator.
Andy Case. He's in Nottingham, England, and he's amazing.
The illustrations are wonderful. I love the illustrations in this book. What's your relationship with him? Did you know him before?
No. My first book was through Mascot Books, and they give you 75 illustrators or stuff, and you pick the 3 you like the best, and then they give you more stuff, and you pick the one you want out of the 3. So I picked Andy. I never met him. I never talked to him, and he did my first book, and then when I did my second book, which was Snoodles Kidoodles, I looked him up and I reached out to him, and then I started working with him directly. And now we're like brothers. Like I'm going to Nottingham next month and having a beer with him. And
you know what I like about this book? I like that it teaches kids not to label somebody who's different.
Yes.
Was that like a something you really wanted to get to in that's what I took out of the book.
Yeah, and I love when I get like the light bulb in my head. So in the Snoodles in Space, episode 2, the Zoodles Strike Back, it's a takeoff on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where you have those bad kids. Everyone loves Charlie; he's such a good boy. But the bad kids, you never hear what happened to them, and there was such press. You get the newspapers, the media. Everybody was like, "Oh, what's this is going into Charlie's chocolate, the chocolate factory," and I make those kids heroes. So Frimpy Fruddle had a Fitsy Witsy Pop-a-Doodle. First he fits, then he wits, and then he popped. And Wimpy Whiny Woodle had a Swizzly Twizzly Slime-a-Doodle. First she swizzled, then she twizzled, and then she turned it into a bucket of slime. And of course, it was all over the newspapers, and kids made fun of them, and they become the heroes in the book in the end.
You are influenced, obviously, by things like Willy Wonka, and the Chocolate Factory. I hear you also are quite the fan of Batman.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny.
How does that pop culture work its way into what it is that you write?
There's always something in there. Because Batman is so ridiculous, and this even years ago as an attorney, I managed other attorneys, litigators, and I always use the Batman analogy where it's like I said, I grew up in the 60s, and first episode, they're beating up the bad guys. Then at the end of the episode, the net falls on them, and then they're on a conveyor belt. Can be made into Bat and Robin tempura. They go in a vat of boiling oil, and they forget to look at the net. And then like every other week, it's like the same thing. The net falls down. The Batman, Joker, Riddler, Catwoman, it's always a net. You think, you look up for a second. So I always draw inspiration from silly stuff like that. Cranky Superpowers, that's one of my adult books. I do takeoffs on Wizard of Oz and Cinderella and Star Trek, so I find inspiration from all those sources. It's a lot of fun.
George Takai is here today. You're going to have to cackle him on the way out and make sure he gets one of the copies of this book.
Okay.
But I love the idea that you make the kids the heroes in this book. I love what you're doing. Stephen Joseph, where can the viewers here learn more about you and your books?
It's StephenJosephAuthor.com is my website. We are later this year. There will be a Snoodleverse.com. It's not up yet, but Snoodleverse.com website where there'll be the Escape from Zoodletrash, the next book. We're going to have an album, a music album that goes with the book, which is very exciting, and lots of different games and all sorts of resources for kids on that website, and that's really exciting. But that's later this year. It's not there yet, but it's going to be coming out with my next book.
So the current book is which one again? Let's hold this up here.
Snoodles in Space.
Snoodles in
Episode
Space.
2.
Make sure you pick up a
Strike
copy.
Back.
Get your copy of the Snoodle Strikes Back. Stephen Joseph, it has been a pleasure. I will spend the rest of the day with an earworm of everything that rhymes with Snoodle for the rest of the day. You've ruined the day for me, but thank you for doing that.
Sorry. Well, thanks for having me.
Rick Robinson, Stephen Joseph, American Library Association 2025, zoom, 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 zoom in the books. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for being here.
Take it.